Hello, 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 everyone. Happy. What is it? Thursday already? Thursday, more earnings ahead. FOMC paused yesterday. We got the core PC, the headline PC numbers out, the revisions from prior months, jobless claims, and of course, we have Apple and Amazon reporting after the close. We had Meta and Microsoft crushing it yesterday. So, good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Jake. Yeah, yesterday's price action was nearly identical to some of the COVID era FOMC days. Oh, and a lot of this price action now is very similar to the meme stock nutso time in 22. We're repeating very quickly. Ah, you're welcome, Rick. Again, it won't work forever, but it could. It used to work for, boy, that worked for a number of years. Then it sort of went on a hiatus for a while, and now it's back again. So that's why you always keep stops. Good morning, Dean. Good morning, Christoph. And test things out for yourself. I would like to point things out, but you know what? Don't just take some bald tie-dye wearing crazy guy on the internet's word for it. Even though I've been with the market since 1992. I'm old. Good morning, John. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Jacob. Sorry, guys, I put a ton of stuff on yesterday's chat this morning. Oh. Hello, Charles. Sterling, if you could just put in a couple key things, like we had a couple key earnings this morning, CVS out there. Could you also put up Microsoft and Amazon if you have a chance? Only if you have a chance. If you're swamped with work, I understand you. Everything you do is just helps the channel. Again, Microsoft Meta yesterday. Today, this morning was CVS, MasterCard. That was the other one I was thinking of. MasterCard. There it is. There's the one. So and we had Roblox. I think they missed. I don't really pay attention much to Roblox, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. David, the new regular. Copper after, boy. So we're not gonna have the tariff on, the unfinished copper. So copper plunging. It's why you gotta use stops. There's can always be something unexpected. Even in the stonks. If Trump bans export on scrap price, you got it. There's no telling what this administration will do. Trump back on beating up Powell. I don't know how they can say there's no inflation. All right, we're not, and you know what? You don't have to return to 5% to say we don't have any inflation. The PCE numbers pretty much confirm that. And April and May were revised higher. Core PC coming in at 0.3. Year over year, core PC is where is it? There it is, 2.8. Again, I'd like to see that well below 2, even if the Fed says, "Oh, our target's 2, and we're going to start cutting drastically once it hits 2." We're not there yet. We haven't hit it yet, especially on core. PCE. Price index, 0.3 month over month. That's a headline number. Up. Year over year, 2.6. Initial jobless claims. Where's the initial jobless claims? 218. So dropping from consensus. Roughly in line with prior. Continuing jobless claims dropping and in line with prior. Maybe they just copied and pasted the prior number. What else do we have? Personal spending. A little below consensus, but up from prior. So bounce in personal spending. Personal income, also higher. Bounce, definitely a huge bounce from prior, but above consensus. So we got all those numbers out of the way today. We just have the Chicago PMI, still expected to be in major contraction, although it bounced from prior, and some bill auctions. Remember, tomorrow we have non-farm payroll. Who else is here? Thank you. Yes, Microsoft was a beat. Thank you, Sterling. Good morning, Kevin. But Microsoft crushed. They crushed it. Metals massacre. Well, copper. Well, we already had with the double top in silver. Was watching for the roll gap fill, which we got. Carvana. Oh boy, don't even bring up Carvana. Please don't bring up the fraud company. eBay was a beat. I didn't look at Adobe. Good morning, Ted. So, I did not listen to Richard Warner on Tucker's podcast yet. I need to listen to that, and I need to look at some more of his work. Yes, even the GDP breakdowns they are not as positive as it looks. You know, we got to be real on this channel. I don't care who you support. I don't care anything. You know, I'm a libertarian. You got to be real with it as much as we can be real with government numbers. I believe the PCE, because it comes out of the Fed more than I believe have you seen the number of estimated things on the CPI? It's skyrocketing. They're estimating over 50% of the stuff on the CPI. And I don't trust the government at all on either side, period. Good morning, Heinrich. So, there you go. Can you chat GPT as a 20-word summary on the Japanese economy? Jacob, can you put Richard Warner into chat GPT and give us the 20-word summary, please? That's one of the best things I found for AI. You know, just I can even dump in research papers and get some summaries and find some key points out. All right. S&P, Microsoft up 8.5%. Where's Meta up 11.27%? Amazon and Apple. Apple's not doing diddly squat and has a potential double top going into earnings. Amazon rising. Chips keep going, except for Qualcomm, which had earnings. But the rest of the market, So let's just chips and the mags. Well, with Tesla earnings, I would have to go with the Mag 6 at this point. Maybe after Apple today, it might be the Mag 5. Although maybe you stick in Broadcom and take it back to 6. And let's throw an AMD to make it 7 again. Let's just make it all. Let's just make it AI. All right, let's just go Microsoft, Meta, NVIDIA, Broadcom, AMD. Apple is a joke with AI. Maybe you could throw in some Amazon just for the cloud stuff. Let's just keep that. We're going to rename. We're not doing the Mag 7 anymore. We're doing the Mike's Mags. Mike's Mags. Those are Mike's Mags. Somebody come up with an acronym because I don't want it called Mike's Mags. What else do we have? What else? Rusty. Hold on. I got to respond on. Remember, if you could at least go to Rumble and subscribe to the channel, please. I'm trying to get more viewers over there, too. Richard Werner found that Japan's economic stagnation due to central bank credit mismanagement, not structural inefficiencies. There you go. Thank you, ChatGPT, and thank you, Jacob. One of the best uses for AI. We have comm services, technology, and super cyclical all running, especially comm services. Look at that. Oh boy. The rest of the market, So we have a just like you have the top 1% and everything else is getting left in the dust. You sort of have the a handful of stocks and the other stuff's getting left in the dust. Fed Watch, this was super interesting. Remember, the press conference came back actually pretty hawkish. Pretty hawkish, and look, September, remember, before it was 60% for the cut, now it's 60% for a pause. Now it's 60% for the pause. So, let's see how that changes. And now it's also down to, unless that flips, it's down to one cut per this year. By the way, if you look at the Taylor rule, which, it's not perfect, but if you use it for a proxy with where the Fed should be, it's roughly estimating they should be about, I think I did use AI for that yesterday. instead of figuring it out myself. It should be at 4.17. All right, based off the Taylor rule. Right now we're at 4.25 to 4.5. So the Fed could technically, if they were following the Taylor rule, cut once this year at this point, and it would not be out of the ordinary. But that's not what the good old Trumpster wants. Oh, we're in greed mode, but that's going to pop up closer to extreme greed again. Schiller PE 3881. The Trueflation PCE index 2.52. So pretty close. Pretty close to the Fed. All right, we looked at this. CVS, that had a double bottom that triggered yesterday before earnings. Don't know if anybody spotted that. Charles doesn't think we're getting the cut in September. Who else? Oh, Sterling just jumped into Rumble too. I'm trying to stream everywhere, guys. Trying to stream everywhere. Thanks. Again, I don't care if you what you watch it on. Just at least subscribe on the different channels, because we're trying to get this information out to more people and help people. Ford was a beat. Did you see their comments on Sterling? Did you see their comments about their disadvantage based off the tariffs to Toyota now? Did you see that, Sterling? CVS beat. MasterCard beat. There, Roblox was a miss. I thought it was a miss on the EPS. But they can miss and still be up 19.3. We're in memes. We're in crazy times again. Rumble, yes, we're on Rumble now too, David. We're on Rumble. Path Trading Partners on Rumble. Let me see here. We are on. You can search for Path Trading Partners. We're up to 7 followers now on Rumble. We're rocking it. Good morning, OD Green. Late to the party, but still here. I thank you, everybody, for tuning in. All right, let's get to the markets now. Sorry for the delay here. All right, we do, with the big gap up, have a potential double top in the S&P. Might never trigger. Again, dip into the rotation zone. Every rotation still is still viable into the rotation zone. All right, so we have that with the minor harmonics. If it gets above, we've already hit the 12.5% extension. We've already bounced off that earlier, and that's the reverse harmonics from Wednesday's low to Monday's high. You see here, those 2 anchor points gave us a 12.5%, which was about around today's high, and 64.80.50 invalidates the potential double. So that is, if we rally back up, again, it's today's high in the harmonic, and then 64.80, and then the next major level is 6,500. On any pullback, you see out of the channel, this was a very, by the way, for people following, this was also a break with the bar and the close set up a percent B buy, closing right at the channel, and overnight following through. That was a 4-hour percent B buy into the daily rotation zone. Just letting you know that. At this point, if it does pull back, no, don't move that line. I don't want that line moved. I want this line. I want this line, everyone. Again, I'm keeping an eye on the 4-hour rotation zone, the 8 EMA specifically around 64.40 if we pull back into the open, which it looks like we're doing that. What did Ford say? Ford said they're approximately, based off the way tariffs are structured now versus Toyota, they're at a $5,000 headwind per car based off of Toyota. So they're being punished $5,000 based on the way tariffs are currently structured. They produce the majority of their vehicles in this country, and they're now facing a $5,000 headwind versus Toyota, versus the way the Japan tariffs are structured, based on the way the aluminum tariffs are structured and steel tariffs are structured. They're facing that headwind. So these tariffs now favor Toyota selling vehicles in this country. Again, this is not a comment on Ford versus Toyota. This is more a comment on tariffs. And here's my problem with tariffs. You're trying to micromanage everything. You're trying to micromanage, and you don't know how things are going to affect businesses because of all their cost structures and every little aspect. That is my problem with tariffs. So it can really be interesting with how it plays out. Oh, and then what are you going to do? You're going to adjust maybe, all right, well, let's say Ford and GM are complaining, all right, well, now we got to try to tweak the aluminum tariffs. We got to try to do this. So we got to try to, you're getting government. You know my thoughts on government. GTFO of things. Tariffs get the government into things more, and they try to micromanage stuff. This isn't about taxes or anything, and tariffs are taxes, by the way. It just depends on who pays them. But here's the problem. It messes with business, and you don't know how it's going to play out. You don't know how it's going to play out. So, like, that's all I got to say on that. So this, again, this is not Democrat, Republican. Again, I'm a libertarian. Boy. Yeah, they could be on Ozzy's Crazy Train. Wow, what a wonderful song that is. What a wonderful song. I did watch, I know it was out a few years ago, but I did watch the Randy Rhoads documentary the other day. Oh, it was probably about a month ago. Really good documentary. What an amazing guitarist he was. So, it's good to be in Toyota. Yes, Sterling, it's good to be in Toyota. And I love me a good Toyota. Again, no comment on whether you're a Ford person, a GM person, a Toyota person. I don't care. I'm more commenting on the structure of everything. Isn't it ironic? Alanis Morissette. Remember that album? The first album was 1995? And it's still, those songs are still getting played. Yeah, I agree it is unionization. But that's not going away. And remember, again, not a direct comment, although it is a direct comment. We have one of the most inefficient port structures in the world, and yet we won't allow automation in there because of the unions. And Trump supported, that. Not the automation. He supported the unions. Not for that. We should be modernizing our ports. Yes, it's going to disrupt things. Yes, it's going to disrupt jobs. But you know what? We waste so much money in some of these inefficient cost structures. It's a joke. Yeah. Again, do libertarians have their flaws? Yes, because they want literally no government should be involved in some very key areas like national defense. All right, border control done right. Okay, something that you don't want one state saying we can have an open border, and because anybody can come in that state and then move across state lines. You can't leave like that issue up to the states. Completely agree. But a lot of stuff, get GTFO of everything. Please. Yeah, never non-prototypical rock star. By the way, if you have not watched the Randy Rhoads documentary, go. I forgot if it's on Prime or Netflix, but go look it up. It's really worth watching. It's really worth watching from the days he started in Quiet Riot to then when he was brought on by Ozzy. Fascinating. All right, sorry to make this is not a music channel. Even though I wear tie-dye shirt, Grateful Dead shirts every day, or Pink Floyd. So NASDAQ finally busting through with yesterday's earnings, busting through these 23,657 harmonic. Not quite. We have a major harmonic cluster, 23,890 to 24,917. So that's what I'll be watching, especially if we get a rally with Apple or Amazon. I'll be shocked if Apple does a massive beat, but who knows? The markets are shocking right now. By the way, back to there's a couple key areas I'm watching over the next couple days. If we do pull back, I'm keeping an eye with the NASDAQ going into the open with about the 1 hour rotation zone in this little ledge right here. And if we break below that, that's 23,730 area. If we break below that, I'm watching the gap open. The gap open with the rising 4 hour rotation zone. So if I was looking for a window where I'll be looking for potential buy bounce setups, it's between about 23,730 to 23,700. All right, and then if we did break below there, we have the natural gap fill to 23,661.75. Well, what was the final? Well, that's on the 4 hour. What was the final? See, this is where the mark to market versus the 4 hour. The mark to market, which I guess I should say the official gap fill would be to 23,480. The one I'm looking at is where it closed roughly on the 4 hours. All right. That's my first area. Sorry I got so sidetracked this morning. Dow came back. By the way, if you're doing something like this, and I see price action again with key earnings coming out, we had the Dow trigger come down, first target hit, second target hit, spike down into here, and this was one I was watching very closely. And when I see something like this, it's done for me. I'm not trying to eke out a little more, okay? Not trying to eke it out, especially against the daily rotation zone, because remember, you can spike below the rotation zone, but still closing in it. I'm just pulling these off for now. Today, if this does pull back, I'm watching the rotation zone about 44,550 on a closing basis. And yes, the bigger potential double top on the Dow is still in place against the weekly rotation zone. Hey, we got sorry, I got multiple monitors going over, and I got Rumble going on the third monitor. Thank you, Sneaky Z, putting in the link to goods GDP consumption, and DATIK, Datic, I heal. Thank you for tuning in over on Rumble. Rumble, people. All right. The Russell on the little mini sloppy double, first and second targets, or first target is hit. Key resistance in the Russell is now 2241. Next key target is 2219. Barely holding on to the rotation zone on the close yesterday. And we still have the potential weekly double in play. So I'm watching yesterday's close and today's prior high on any rally. The VIX, we do have a potential double bottom. We spiked up yesterday with the Powell stuff and the quick little sell-off, and now we drop back down. So guess what? 1727 is key for me on the VIX. And trying to find a little support base in here. DAX, nothing to talk about there. Still stuck in the middle with you. Another fantastic song. Stuck in the middle with you. Steelers Wheel. Not a music channel. The yields pop up yesterday with Powell and coming back to the neckline. So, officially triggered head and shoulders on the yields, on the micro yields, but remember, not triggering. Again, it was not an official head and shoulders on this, but not triggering above the key close on the notes. That's why, for me, I got conflicting signals, so nothing to do there. I'm just tracking this. Good. Sort of interesting with those PCE numbers that came out. The yields are just sitting here. Crude. Remember, we finished a double bottom yesterday, closed above here. I'm well watching. Now, key support is right around this 69.65 area. This area, I'm watching for a little pullback. My next target for anything remaining, the next is 71.20 if it can get up there. And then if we blow through there, it's closer to 73. But right now, we did get very overbought with yesterday's close, so I'm watching for a slight, some kind of pullback. Keeping an eye on the 4-hour rotation zone. Come on, bottom of 4-hour rotation zone. Especially right around, I'd actually go a little higher than 68, 68.60, 68.65. I'd go closer, I'd be watching closer to 68.80 if we can pull back that far. What else? Gold. We had the gap fill yesterday, the roll gap fill. Remember, this was a roll gap fill. Moving on back up, but again, trying to get cycles to the bottom. I'm still going to be watching for potential rollover plays. Now, we do have a little dollar weakness. So at least we're pausing the dollar, so we might get a little rotation back in the gold. But there's not a great short-term setup here. Besides, I was looking for that gap fill. Silver. This had to be traded on. Come on. Why is this so slow? You see it triggered on the 4-hour and then went down. First and second targets are hit. It actually had to be traded. It had to be done with momentum. I was looking for pullback levels on this and to lighten up any silver longs, remaining silver longs. Remember, we also had a very key divergence up here, setting up the double. First and second targets hit still, and we are below. We closed below the daily rotation zone. So I'm not shocked we could even see silver pull back closer to the bottom of the weekly rotation zone. So I'm still watching for potential rollover plays in silver. There's your copper. All right. Copper's mark to market is a load of friggin' BS. I'm saying it right here. And this isn't the only time. Here was your price action. Okay? Plummeting. You tell me, here's the 4-hour close. You tell me, right around 4.625. We'll just call it right around there. All right? We don't need the exact number. Let's look at the daily mark to market. 5.58? Really? No. And then look at the next day. Fine. You're telling me this is where it closed, this is where it opened, and this is your 4-hour chart? How does this make any sense with where it was marked? Oh. And this is not the first time that's happened. There are some wacky settlements on copper. But it's, I mean, if this actually, because you see here, look at your 62.5, key close below it. So once that happened, what am I shifted to? Reconnection with the 87.5. Dollar index. Sorry, we're running late into the open. I'm sorry, guys. I guess I got sidetracked on too many things this morning. I was so happy the Rumble stream was working. Again, dollar index official close above the 62.5. So even a dollar's actually bounced. It pulled back a little. We have a little mini. Is it still valid? A little mini potential double top. Barely valid, but still potentially valid. That's the only thing. Dollar has drastically changed. And remember, if you're not playing that to the long side, you can play the euro to the short side, which has clearly hit the first target. Again, there is a little mini now formed potential double bottom here. So if that triggered, would I be going long? No. I'd be looking for a bigger, if you're not already short and this triggers, I'd be looking, again, no advice here, but this is how I would be looking at it, would be looking for the bounce move to possibly establish a short pattern. And look, it just bounced in the 4-hour rotation zone below the prior key support area. And you got the declining rotation zone now, the hooking over 50. It is oversold also. So could we see a bounce? Yeah. But I would not be going long this thing unless you're super nimble, because you still have lower targets. What else? What else? I don't understand what flip a small account. You can quit trading for a while. Why don't you just close your account? Uh, hey, Charles, what's going on? Yeah, the difference and the don't even bring up the LNE, the London Metal Exchange with copper. Don't. We're not going to talk about that yet. Also, we're not going to talk about it. All right. What else do we have? We have the yen. We hit the target yesterday. Kaboom. Target. Potential doubles off. So now we blowing through it today. What's my next target higher? Since we went through the first target, which again can be used to raise a stop or unwind a partial position. Next target's 151.97. There's a minor area I'm looking at in front of that where we could pause. There's a pretty, see the support base here back from February, broken at the near the end of February, retested at the beginning of March and rejected, retested at the end of March and rejected. That's the next minor area is 151 and then 151.97. So that's my next target area. On the yen, the Spideys. These Spideys, little gap up. Little gap up. Don't even know if this still qualifies as a potential double top. Yes, it does. That's the only thing that would turn me short term. We got to the first harmonic right there. So again, key support I'm looking at Tuesday's gap up reversal open is the first level support. That I'm looking at yesterday's high on any pullbacks. Other than that, on a rally, 640.45, then 641.45. The Qs, the good old gap up, no double in there. We don't even have a decent pausing bar on this. I need a longer term pausing. See, the last weekly pausing bar was back at the beginning of June. We don't even have a new weekly pausing bar. That's how insane this has been. I can't even put my weekly harmonics up there yet. So the next minor daily is 576.66. On the pullback, which is looking like it's doing now, the key gap open reversal from Tuesday is still very key, 570.76, roughly in line with Wednesday's high. Bitcoin still caught in a range, still holding the rotation zone. Tesla, nothing. NVIDIA, the unstoppable NVIDIA, gapping up. Yesterday, you can see stopping at the next minor harmonic and now gapping through it. 185.20 is the next key level. Broadcom, not yet to the next harmonic. Broadcom's really getting overextended, though. I mean, look at this. Would not be chasing it higher. Oh, you want to... So you just want to make a bunch of money really quick and then quit trading. Then you're probably in the wrong line of business. Because why would you want to do that? If you're good at something, why try to just... That's called gambling. And again, if you're looking to invest or trade properly and you want to... If you're looking to gamble, this would not be the correct channel for you. If you're looking to gamble. Let's see. I was just going to get to that. SHAK. Shake Shack. What do they... So they beat. I guess, did they give bad guidance? I mean, that had to be traded. I don't even know. I did not look at this after hours, but there's your double. I mean, gap down. I did have to look at this after hours, though. Let me see what it looked like. Extended trading hours. Would have had to have been traded right when it went down, but look at that, straight to the bottom target. Again, you can trade these after hours with momentum on earnings if they're set up. And let me show you something else. CVS, this is a great one. This was a double bottom. You see this? Double bottom. It was triggered before earnings officially. It was triggered at the first target. Pause little there. You see that? And then, all right, so then let's say you traded this. Let's say, yay, I'm going into earnings. CVS was a beat. Finally a beat. And it gaps up like this. What's the next target you use if it gaps beyond that? You come here, you use the harmonics. And what's the key one? Look at that, 62.5. Guess what I'd be watching on today's close? 65.83. That's a pretty big gap up. If it can't close above there, I'd be watching for a potential. That would still be in the rollover zone. If it does close above it, it would tip the probabilities where even on a pullback, I'd be looking for potential new long setups. But it's going to be real interesting. So if you were still long here, me personally, and I was not long this one, me personally would be about unwound. I would have put in an order based off where it was trading pre-market. I would have put an order pretty much on the open right around 65.83 to unwind more of a position. And then keep a remaining position at least going into the close to see where it closes. That's, again, because of why? If we close above 65.83, it tips the probabilities. Yes, we can still get a pullback, but on that pullback, I could re-add some of my old position I took off. If it doesn't close above there, then I'd be watching for possibly a more significant topping pattern and would be, if that topping pattern triggers, would be unwinding more of the position. All right. Thank you for pointing out that, Sterling. And I was pointing out the CVS one. And for the people newly watching this channel, you'll learn stuff. It's all taught for free on this. It's all taught for free. So just stick with concepts like how to do doubles, how to do rotation zones, how to do everything else. Here's your harmonics on Roblox. It's technically from that low. It doesn't really matter. These give us areas to target. So you did have a potential double top that was not triggered. There was their miss. Still not making it. They don't even have a PE ratio because they don't make money. We're back to insane. We're back to insane. Can insane last a lot longer than you think? Yes. But that's why I use harmonics, because what other price target were you going to use? Maybe 150 and the prior things, but look, it even gapped above the prior high. This, again, is going to go vertical up, vertical down again. But that's where you sit. That's why we use harmonics in here. All right. I don't know if anybody's still watching, but thank you for tuning in. I hope everyone has a wonderful trading day. It's this peek at the S&P going into the good old open, coming back to this little key area. By the way, we're getting more selling pressure into the U.S. day session, if you haven't noticed. And that was brought up earlier, by Rick, where it's, you can either buy the close or buy the reopen, depending on your margin stuff, and carry it through to the next day's open and then sell. It's the sort of riding the European wave, because we've been getting more and more consolidation during the U.S. session and sell-offs. So that's something else that won't last forever, and I'd investigate it for yourself, but that's very key. We did break below the first level of support, not even pausing. Remember, we don't buy levels. We look for setups near levels, and was there's a setup here? No. So now I'm watching closer to the bottom of the rotation zone. We start closing below a 4-hour rotation zone. I'll be real patient. Also, look, you still have the technical gap fill. So I'll watch just below that rotation zone for the gap fill. The NASDAQ also, we did the gap to the official 4-hour one, but remember the daily settlement is still well below. So we're getting selling the U.S. session now. You're welcome, Christoph. All right. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Hope you all have a wonderful day. remember, still we're not through key things. Let's just do a recap so we don't forget. We have Apple, Amazon after the close. Tomorrow we have Exxon and Chevron. Well, we have Exxon and Chevron for this. And tomorrow we have non-farm payrolls. And also we have the ISM numbers and consumer sentiment and consumer inflation expectations. So tomorrow is another busy day to round out the week. Next week goes more quieter. But tomorrow, do not get caught off guard with the unemployment numbers, the non-farm payroll numbers, I should say. And they're expecting a little gap, a little lower from prior. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow. Bye for now. Thank you for people who subscribed on Rumble. Bye for now.